Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in. Welcome back to Live Unrestricted. Thank you so much for letting me be in your ear here again today. I hope you're having an amazing day. Here in Montreal, we got our first snowfall today. And normally I absolutely hate winter. I am someone who doesn't really do any of the sports that would make winter fun. I don't ski, I don't snowboard, I don't particularly love skating, although I am trying to get back into it. I'm someone who's constantly cold. And I also have a condition called Raynaud's, which means that the circulation to my toes and my fingers kind of gets cut off when it's cold. So the winter is particularly difficult. I'm constantly wearing about 3 pairs of socks, but we are not here to talk about winter sports. We're actually here to talk about body image and how to begin healing your relationship with your body. Now, this is something that I am definitely going to have to do more than one episode on because it is such a huge topic. And this is something that I have a full module on in my program. And it's something that we talk about every single week because all of our struggles, all of our issues when it comes to food and dieting, the more that I work with hundreds and hundreds of women is realizing that it all comes down to the way that we feel about ourselves and about our bodies. I want you to think back of the first time that you started restricting or going on a diet or even just watching what you were eating. And I want you to think back to what that trigger was. And chances are it was some kind of dissatisfaction with your body or wanting to make it look different. And so it really is at the core of our relationship with food and with ourselves. And so we have to talk about that. And this is going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And I truly don't believe in toxic body positivity because I think that leaves out a lot of the cultural and societal trauma that we've gotten and the messages that we get about what our bodies should look like. And it's very difficult to get to a point of body positivity when you've been hating your body your entire life. And so this episode is going to be for you if you feel like you think about your weight and what you look like and what other people are thinking about your body more than what you would like. And it might take up the majority of your headspace. You may avoid taking pictures or looking in mirrors or seeing your reflection. Maybe getting dressed in the morning is one of your least favorite parts of the day because it always comes with self-loathing or negative comments about what your body looks like or how you possibly could have gotten yourself to where you are today. And so what I want to do is I want to work internally. I want to work on the thoughts that you have about your body image because when we are constantly looking externally and we think that if I change my body, if I hit a certain number on the scale, if I hit a certain jean size, then I'm finally going to love myself, or then I'm finally going to feel good about myself. Then we are constantly going to be chasing this feeling. I don't know if you can relate to this, but so many of my clients have said that they look back on pictures from when they were 20 or 30 years old, and they just think, God, I was so thin back then. I was 50 pounds lighter, and I still hated my body. And if you've ever felt that way, then that's a really good indication that The problem is not about how you look, how your body looks. It's about the way that you think about your body. And I want to have this conversation because I don't want you to spend the rest of your life chasing something, chasing a sense of self-worth, hoping that some external circumstance is going to validate you, is finally going to give you that feeling that you're so desperately craving. And so we are going to talk about how to begin respecting and accepting your body. We are not necessarily going to talk about body positivity. Something that I talk about in the program is called body neutrality, which we are going to get into. But you don't necessarily have to love your body in order to take care of it. And I want to bring you a step forward in the right direction, because study shows that the more you focus on your body, the worse you feel about yourself. And the worse you feel about yourself, the more likely you are to engage in self-sabotaging behaviors. Because if you don't believe that you are worthy or deserving of something better, if you don't believe that you are capable of achieving anything or of following through, if you have so much self-doubt, if you're constantly giving up on yourself and on your goals because fundamentally you don't believe you're capable of making it happen, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your self-esteem, your self-worth, the opinion you have of yourself is directly related to the results you achieve in your life. And to give you an example, if you don't believe that you are worthy or you're capable of getting a promotion at work, then chances are you are never gonna muster up the confidence to go up to your boss and to have that conversation and to ask for a raise and to ask for that promotion. And so because you hold yourself back, things are not just gonna fall on your lap. Unfortunately, life is not that easy. We have to go after those bigger things. We have to ask for them. We have to believe in our ability to make it happen. And so this goes back to, if you are constantly feeling like you are not enough, like you are not good enough, like you are not worthy, like you are not capable, then chances are you will keep engaging in behaviors, or you just won't take any action to make your circumstances different. And this is relevant and important when talking about body image, because how can you ever feel good about yourself when you're constantly tearing your body apart? How many times do you go throughout the day thinking about the size of your stomach, or how many mirrors have you avoided? How many pictures have you said no to because you didn't want to see how you looked? How many memories have you missed out on because of the thoughts you had of your body? I've had multiple clients actually who we started working together when they were 40 or 50 years old, and their kids had grown up. Their kids were now teenagers. They were young adults. And one thing that they've all said to me is how much regret they feel that they never took pictures with their kids growing up. Maybe they took pictures of their kids. Maybe they took pictures of their kids and their husband, but they were never in that picture. And it's so tragic because time is the only thing we can't get back. We can make more money, we can buy more resources, but we can never go back in time. And it is one of the most painful feelings in the world to see that an opportunity has slipped away from you. And so many people will let time slip away thinking, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start living my life. I'm going to go after opportunities. I'm going to have these experiences when I lose weight. And I want you to really acknowledge that your life is happening now. It's not happening when you lose the 20 pounds. It's happening now. And you might not even be able to count how many things have been stolen from you because of the never-ending stream of chatter in your brain. And this chatter is robbing your attention from things that actually matter. Things that at the end of your life, when you're 70 or 80 years old, you might look back on and think, I can't believe how much time and energy I wasted hating my body when I could have focused on things like my career or my relationships or my social life or creating memories. Cultivating a more positive body image, or at least a more neutral one, and moving away from self-loathing is a crucial part of intuitive eating. How are you supposed to have a peaceful mindset around food if with everything that you put into your mouth, you're thinking, how is this going to affect my weight? How is this going to affect the number on the scale? You're constantly going to be disconnecting from your body. You're not going to listen to your hunger and fullness. You're not going to be able to be present with your food because there's going to be so much anxiety about how this might affect the number on the scale the next day. Body anxiety triggers food anxiety, which fuels that cycle of dieting. When we're constantly anxious about the foods that we should or shouldn't be eating, then we fall into restriction. And we know that restriction fuels binging and overeating, and then it just becomes this endless roller coaster. And as long as you're at war with your body, it's going to be impossible to feel at peace with yourself and with food. With every negative or self-loathing thought that you have about your body, that internal food police that tells you you really shouldn't be eating that, or you better work out at the gym extra hard tomorrow morning to burn it off, that internal food police gains more power, pushing you towards just one more diet, right? Just one more try, having that hope that for some reason, this time is going to be different, that hopefully this time is going to magically work and make you feel better about yourself. Now, you might be feeling reluctant right now to do the work, to start appreciating and respecting your body, because part of you might fear that if you don't hate yourself anymore, you'll get complacent, right? You'll let yourself go. You'll stop caring. And that's because when it comes to diet culture, that's the messaging we're used to hearing, right? It's such a toxic mindset and language that we use around people's bodies and people's weights that if we see someone has gained weight, we just assume that they've quote unquote let themselves go, when we really truly have no idea what is going on in that person's life. Maybe that person needed to gain weight. Maybe they were underfeeding. Maybe by gaining weight, they're finally taking care of their health. They're eating enough. They're eating more variety of foods. Most people fall into the trap of thinking that the only appropriate way to meet a perceived flaw is with rejection, resentment, resistance, and judgment. And all that does is it creates more negative feelings within ourselves. And we don't want to take positive actions in the face of negative feelings. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in this episode, how shame and guilt is never a driver for lasting positive behavior change. But we're taught that if we hate our bodies enough, if we feel badly enough about the fact that we're overweight, if we feel enough pain, then we'll obviously be more motivated to make a change, right? We're taught that if we learn to love our bodies, or at least to accept our bodies, no matter what size we're at, people are going to perceive us as having let ourselves go. We believe that our self-criticism is what keeps us motivated and keeps us on track. But I want you to ask yourself, I want you to reflect on your past experiences with dieting and with exercise. Is that motivation that you get from self-criticism, has that motivation ever been consistent? Have you ever been able to maintain that long term? When we're trying to hate our bodies thin, what happens is that we are relying on extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation meaning if I see the number go down, if my pant size gets smaller, then I'll keep getting motivated. And if I don't, then I give up. And because of that, we end up disconnecting from what our bodies are telling us. Maybe you might have changed the way that you eat and you're feeling much better. You're feeling more energetic. You're feeling, you have more stamina, you have more strength, you have a better mood, more energy, right? You're feeling all of these intrinsic changes, but because the number on the scale hasn't changed, because the gene size hasn't changed, then you perceive that you must be doing something wrong, right? Whereas you might be doing things that are really promoting enhanced health, but we're so easy to give up because we think that the only indicator of success is if our bodies has changed or not. And without that nagging voice telling us that we are not good enough, that we are not slim enough, that we are not trying hard enough, we would just end up binging on Netflix in our PJs, eating pizza all day. That's what we believe, right? We think that if we show compassion towards ourselves, then we're just gonna get lazy. And this is actually exactly the opposite of the truth. Research shows that self-compassion actually supports and enhances your motivation to continue with your goals. On the whole, it has been found that those who cultivate a self-compassion habit has been associated with improved well-being, increased happiness, and a greater initiative to make changes in their lives. This is why being kind to yourself might actually be one of the most important healthy habits to cultivate. I want you to think about, let's say you bought this like brand new pair of designer jeans and you spent a lot of money on them. You love them. They're brand new. And you've got a second pair of jeans, which is ripped up. You've had it for 20 years. You really, really don't actually care about them. You are going to treat those two different pairs of pants extremely differently, right? You might wash your brand new designer jeans in its own load. You are going to make sure that you don't put it in the dryer. You are going to make sure that it's neatly folded. You're not throwing it on the floor. You're taking good care of that pair of jeans. Why? Because you appreciate them, because you enjoy them, you love them, you've spent a lot of money on them, you value them. And so, of course, you're going to take really good care of them. Whereas when it comes to those ripped jeans, maybe you don't particularly like them, they're kind of just there. You're not really going to take an extra effort to take good care of them. And so the same goes with your body. We don't genuinely want to take care of something that we hate. And so why would you want to feel good? Why would you want to exercise or improve your eating habits if fundamentally you hate the body that you're living in? And if you're not convinced, I really want you to take a second and think on your past experiences. Has the self-loathing because of your body ever helped in the past? Has dwelling on your imperfect body parts ever actually helped you become leaner in the long run? Does stepping on the scale in the morning make you weigh any less? Or does it just make you feel worse about yourself? Does it end up affecting your mood? Does it affect the way you show up in the world? Does it affect your eating habits? If you step on the scale in the morning and you see that your weight is up, does it maybe affect you by making you restrict extra hard that day and then most likely end up binging later because of the restriction? Or maybe you go in the complete different direction and it makes you kind of say, well, screw it. What's the point? I've been trying so hard and the number on the scale has not been moving. So I'm just going to eat everything because all of this is for nothing, right? It can go one way or the other. And I could do a full other episode on the scale and how it affects your eating habits and your mindset. But I have yet to find someone who says that focusing on her body in such a negative way is helpful. What ends up happening is that shame, weight stigma, and the lack of self-love becomes massive barriers for people to actually implement health-promoting behaviors. When we don't believe, like I said, that we are worthy or deserving, then why should we give ourselves the gift of self-care, compassion, and put ourselves first? Let's look at an example. Let's say that you hate the weight that you're at right now. You consider it completely unacceptable, and you're fully convinced that it makes you less worthy of love, respect, care, and belonging. And despising what you see in the mirror every day, you decide to go on a diet or cut back on calories or eat cleaner. I'm putting the air quotes there. And you join a gym in a burst of hate-fueled motivation. And desperate to lose the weight quickly, you show up every day, you push your body past its limit, and you restrict your food intake. After about 2 weeks, your body is exhausted. You're starving all the time, and you have massive cravings. And you step on the scale, and you're thinking, okay, I've been putting all this work in, right? Like it's gonna show. You step on the scale, and you haven't lost as much as you feel like you should have, given how miserable you've been. So what happens? You dive face first into a late night binge when everyone goes to bed, eat all the things that you've been saying no to for the past 2 weeks, chocolate, carbs, whatever it is that you've been restricting in order to lose weight. And you wake up the next morning feeling so utterly defeated and worthless that it can go two ways. Either you stop exercising and stop trying to eat healthy because you think, why bother? So upset with yourself for being too weak to succeed yet again. Or number two, you vow to double down on the exercise and the restricting and to quote unquote be better or start again, which fuels the cycle again, which just repeats every couple of days or every couple of weeks until it gets too hard to maintain this roller coaster of being on and off compliance is so exhausting, and you just give up altogether and go back to your old ways. So that is the first scenario where it's coming from a place of self-loathing or desire to lose weight in a way that punishes you for the body that you're in right now. Now, let's look at what happens if you accept the body and the weight that you're at right now, right? And I want to say this is very important that just because you're accepting the body and the weight that you're in right now, it does not mean that you can't strive to want to improve your fitness, to want to improve your health. But it's the mindset behind it, the intention behind it, the actions behind it, the habits that you decide to take that are going to change the entire experience. So you might think, this is the weight that I'm at right now, and it is perfectly acceptable and understandable, and it doesn't make me any less worthy of love and respect and kindness and belonging. And along with that thought, you might notice that your moods and your energy and your mental clarity has been a bit low, and that you get winded easily, and that your stamina isn't as good as you would like it to be. And noticing this and also accepting your current weight, you think, I am worthy of having better care, more energy, and a more active life. I am worthy of improving my health. So you join a gym, but you decide to take it slow. You show up once or twice a week to the gym for a month, staying within a conservative level of effort. So let's say you're someone who never works out. So you start slow. You start with walking or really light weights, and you build a solid exercise habit on top of making a few very subtle changes to the way that you eat. Like you start focusing on getting more vegetables and listening to your body more and being more mindful. Instead of going from 0 to 100, you start taking tiny steps, which might not feel like a lot in the moment, especially if you're someone who's an extremist, who has a perfectionism mindset, who thinks that you need to kind of overhaul the way that you live in order to get results. But let's say instead of doing that, which was scenario number 1, you start slow and you decide that you're going to enjoy the habits that you're implementing. So you enjoy showing up to the gym. When you are there, you listen to your body. You don't push yourself to a level that is out of the scope of your physical fitness at the time. And you still enjoy the foods that you're eating. So you are adding more vegetables. You are listening to your body more. You are seeing the times that you tend to overeat, and you're starting to make connections as to why you're overeating and what's triggering that. And at the same time, you're still enjoying the foods that you love, right? You are still allowing yourself to have the cake and the cookie and the desserts when you feel like it, because you know that if this is a lifestyle that you want to maintain for the rest of your life, then you have to be able to enjoy it. Well, what happens? Over time, you see results. You start getting better sleep. Your mood is more positive, especially if you've decided to stop weighing yourself. Then you're not starting the day off by instantly hating your body and by having negative thoughts about the number on the scale. You start having more energy, you start having more strength, more endurance, and motivated by these intrinsic results of how you feel. You continue showing up and feeling good. And over the long term, perhaps the composition of your body naturally changes, perhaps not. But let's say your body did change. Let's say you do start losing some fat and gaining some muscle. Maybe you're going to enjoy these changes to your shape or size, but you'll also recognize that in the end, in and of itself, those changes to your body don't make you any better, any happier, any more worthy of love or acceptance or a belonging. You might be feeling happier because your mood has improved, your energy is higher, you feel strong, you feel proud of yourself, you feel confident. But that confidence is coming from the fact that you are being consistent with these new habits that you've decided you wanted to implement and stick to. That confidence doesn't necessarily come from the changes in your body. Do you see how much easier it is to make positive changes and to stick to them from a place of acceptance rather than rejection? It might seem counterintuitive, but resisting, resenting, shaming, and judging yourself for who you are in this moment is never going to lead to positive change. We want to lose weight to be happy and feel good about ourselves. We think that if we change our bodies, our thoughts about ourselves would automatically change. But it's the self-loathing that keeps us stuck. We think that we need to be in a smaller body to have permission to love ourselves. And I have so much compassion if you feel that way, because we live in a society that is obsessed with fat shaming and thin bodies and making people feel like they're not enough. I want you to think about it. I want you to think about the diet industry. Their entire business model is making you pick out flaws in yourselves, flaws that maybe you didn't even know that you had, and convincing you that you need to pay these companies in order to make yourself better. And this entire business model, which is worth billions of dollars, would collapse if people actually started going against the status quo and realizing that we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to look a certain way in order to be happy. We fear that if we love ourselves at a bigger body, we won't have the desire to change. We fear that we won't have the right to love ourselves if society's standards don't agree with it. I don't know if you've ever read or heard of the book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware, where she interviewed the 5 most common regrets shared by people nearing death. And I'm going to go through all 5, but there's one that particularly pertains to this topic. So number 1 is, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Number 3, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And number 5, I wish that I had let myself be happier. And so when I think of that number 1, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I think that's so powerful because we are constantly living lives and letting our feelings, our emotions be dictated, be controlled by other people's opinions. So my goal, my hope is to at least start planting a seed in your mind, helping you see that you can start feeling more confident and more worthy and increasing your self-esteem without any of the external circumstances, the number on the scale, what you see in the mirror, your jean size change. I myself have been underweight. I am very honest about my past with eating disorder and exercise addiction. And I have been 20, 30 pounds lighter than I am now. And I hated my body more back then. And I thought if I just lose another 5 pounds, then I will start liking myself. I will have confidence. And of course, that was never the case. It was never enough. And so when we talk about body image healing, this is a passage from the intuitive eating book itself on the concept of body respect, which is accept your genetic blueprint. Just as a person with a shoe size of 8 would not expect to realistically squeeze into a size 6, it is equally as futile and uncomfortable to have the same expectation about body size. But mostly respect your body so that you can feel better about who you are. It's hard to reject the diet mentality if you are unrealistic and overly critical about your body shape. Respecting your body means treating it with dignity and kindness, as well as meeting its basic needs. Respect your body so that you can feel better about who you are now. So I want to leave you with this. I'm a big fan of introspection, of journaling, of asking yourself really good questions so that you can dive deep into what's going on a subconscious level. Because a lot of the times we can understand a concept intellectually on a conscious level, but deep down, we don't actually believe these. We don't actually live or embody these. So I want you to take out a piece of paper, and I really encourage that if you've been listening to this, that you are going to take action on this, that you are going to be an active participant, because I have listened to more podcasts than I could ever imagine. And I can tell you that the ones that I've gotten the most value out of, the ones that I've applied to my own life, have been the ones that I've taken notes on and I've been active in. There's such a difference in learning when you're writing things down than when you're listening. And so I want you to take out a pen and a piece of paper, and I want you to write down some of these questions. And I really encourage that you take 5 to 10 minutes alone, without distractions, and answer these questions. And some negative or uncomfortable thoughts might come up for you. And that's okay. Being able to recognize these uncomfortable thoughts instead of pushing them down and thinking that they're wrong and we shouldn't have them, it doesn't help us. All we do is we ignore what's already there. And so The first question that I want you to reflect on is, what negative views do I hold about my body? What negative views do I hold about my body? And no one is going to be checking your answer, right? So these are going to be personal. So just write them down, put them down on paper, and recognize that we all have negative views about our bodies, and that no matter how negative they are right now, they don't have to be permanent. And so what negative views do I hold about my body? Now, the second question. So friends and family play a role in shaping your beliefs about your body image, whether positively or negatively. Small comments and actions sometimes send very powerful messages, even when they are unintentional. So think about the most important people in your life. What are their thoughts and feelings about body image? And have you ever internalized any of these messages? So I was talking to one of my clients actually this morning, and we went through an exercise together, and it's on our habit module. And one of the questions that I had her reflect on is some of the stories and the beliefs that she's been conditioned to believe since she's been young. And what she was telling me is something she didn't even realize she's been carrying with her for so long on a subconscious level, was that when she was 12 years old, her mom made a comment to her that just stayed. Like, her brain took that thought, that comment, and stuffed it in her subconscious. And she's been carrying that for her entire life. And that comment was, they were talking about bodies or weight. And her mom said, you're going to struggle with this for the rest of your life. Your body and weight is going to be a lifelong struggle. And my client took that. And as a 12-year-old, you don't actually process that. You don't think about that critically. Your brain is trying to make sense of the world. And so it doesn't know what's true or false, what's right or wrong. It takes in the information and it runs with it. And so she has been living with that belief that she's always going to be at war with her body for the rest of her life. This has been driving, and here she is. She's in her 50s, and because she's never actually done the work to get to the root causes of why she's always felt so negatively about her body and about food, she's let so many years just fly by, going on this constant diet roller coaster. So I want you to ask yourself, what are the people who are the most important to you in your life? What are their thoughts and what are their feelings about body image? And have you internalized any of these messages? Now, the next question. So whether or not you are aware of it, body image plays a role in nearly every aspect of your life. It can influence everything from the clothes you wear to the career that you choose. I had another one of my clients who is a CrossFit trainer, and she was telling me before she started my program that her life had been suffering so much from her lack of self-esteem and from her body image and from her issues with binging, that she felt like a fraud at her work, and she wanted to quit to get a desk job so that she could, quote unquote, stop feeling the sense that she was not looking the part. So the way that we feel about ourselves affects every area of your life. So I want you to ask yourself, how does your body image impact your life, whether positively or negatively? Look at your relationships, look at your job, look at your friendships, look at the experiences that you have or you don't have, the things that you hold yourself back from, your kids, the way that you've lived your life. How has your body image impacted your life, whether positively or negatively? Now, again, I really, really encourage that you don't just listen to this podcast and walk away and just keep cleaning or driving or whatever it is. Like if you really can, or if you can come back to it later, write these questions down and journal on this, because these are uncomfortable questions. But if we don't take a look at our current reality, if we don't address our demons, address how this has been affecting us, we're just going to keep living life unconsciously, living life on autopilot, living life with our head in the clouds, and not even living life, just kind of settling and surviving instead of living an intentional life that we're proud of. So next question is, imagine what your life would look like if you gave up negative views about body and the notion of attempting to change it. What would the freedom from worries about your body feel like? What would you do more of? What new changes could take place in your life? What doors would open? Maybe you would go out more. Maybe you would show up differently. Maybe you would have more confidence to ask for the raise or to start dating, or you would take more pictures with your kids, right? What would your life look like if you decided to let go of the negative views about your body? And the last question is, what feelings emerge as you work towards dropping your negative body image and accepting Mother Nature's blueprint for your body? What feelings emerge? There might be fear, there might be anxiety, there might be stress of, well, what will people think of me? What will my life look like if I am not constantly chasing weight loss? But I want you to ask yourself, when it comes to this notion of what will people think of you, has hating your body actually made you thinner over time? Or has all it's done really just kept you on this roller coaster of gaining and losing and gaining and losing, and then eventually just gaining more weight over time and leaving you worse off? And that perhaps when you actually drop that negative body talk, you'll be able to start implementing more healthy habits consistently. And maybe perhaps your body will settle at a healthier, happier weight for you that you're able to maintain long term, instead of constantly be yo-yoing, which is very, very harmful for your health. So those are the questions that I want you to reflect on. And so today was our first episode on body image. We are definitely going to dive deeper into this. We're going to talk about the scale. We're going to talk about why body image matters. But I wanted to just have this intro to help you start seeing all of this from a different perspective and start realizing that you have more power than you think. So I hope that today's episode was helpful and that you do reflect on some of those questions. And I would be more than happy to hear some of your thoughts on what kind of answers came up for you, what kind of breakthroughs came up for you as you were working through these questions. So don't hesitate to send me a DM on Instagram. You can find me at sabrina.magnan.health. I answer every single one of the DMs that I get from you guys. And I want to hear from you. If this was valuable, take a screenshot, post it on your story, tag me in it. I want to hear from you, and enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.